We're here at TechEd Europe 2012. One other year with Russinovich, the technical fellow in the Windows Azure team.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So how's
good
your week
see
so
Alex.
far?
Yeah, it's going good. I love TechEd Europe. It's one of my, actually right up there with TechEd US is my favorite conferences to go to. And it's great that it's in Amsterdam this year. I love Amsterdam. We were talking before, last time I was here was 2005, so it's great to come back and visit.
7 years ago already.
Yeah, I know. Time flies.
What happened in these last 7 years?
Yeah.
New tools, new books, new everything, right?
Yeah, lots happened. And
you
work at
changed.
Microsoft.
Yeah, you work at Microsoft, and then first, I always tell when I talk to my students about you, it's about he's responsible for the Windows kernel. Am I correct?
Not fully. I mean, I worked on the Windows kernel team, so primarily during the Windows 7, process. So, and I was on the core architecture team, which is a group of senior engineers, architects from around Windows. So I influenced it that way. But there's lots of people that work on the kernel.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And then you switched to Windows Azure.
Yep, about 2 years ago.
And then the first thing that came up in my mind is, okay, so apparently Windows needs to be changed a little bit to make it work for cloud-based computing. So is there something that is particularly necessary to change when you want to do cloud-based computing, cloud-based Windows?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good question. And in fact, we have an OS team that's part of Windows Azure. And Dave Cutler started that team when he started Windows Azure because when he looked at what Windows Server capabilities were at the time, which was Server 2008, it wasn't capable of doing some of the things we wanted it to do in Azure. I'll just give you one key example, and that is that the hypervisor in Server 2008 supported at most, I think it was 4 core VMs, or maybe it was even 2.
4.
And,
I remember
4. And we had 8 core servers when we started Azure. We wanted to fully utilize them, let people have VM with 8 cores. So that's one change that was made to the hypervisor to support 8 cores and do better scheduling for 8 core systems. They've worked on that himself. Actually, I'll give you another example where the OS team made changes in the Azure version of the operating system, and that was booting from VHDs. So when we're dealing with this massive infrastructure, we're deploying images, very convenient to deploy a VHD and then just boot them up, basically an image of the whole machine. So the OS team in Azure added boot from VHD capabilities to Server 2008. And both of those enhancements you saw rolled into Server 2008 R2, boot from VHD and and 8 core VMs. Now we're up, I think, to 64, 32. Or,
that's a lot.
Yeah, anyway.
So actually, Windows Azure team makes changes, and we get actually profit by our own systems.
Yeah, that's right. And actually, it goes the other way too. So Azure team's making changes for the Azure environment that are rolling back into Windows Server, and the server team is making optimizations too for private clouds, and those are going back into Azure. So there was in Server 2012 a bunch of networking enhancements, better networking performance in the network stack, better network security, a network plugin model that's new in the hypervisor layer. So we're going to take advantage of that in Azure. So transfers in both directions, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, and we have basically 2 teams working on more or less the same.
Yeah.
Same architecture. And last year during the session you were talking about where Windows as a service was coming up, like you can have your own VMs in Windows.
Yeah.
What's the status on that? How far are we?
Yeah, actually.
Or how close are we by actually adopting it in the market?
Windows, you mean in the cloud?
Yeah,
or
Windows as a
Azure?
service.
Oh, Windows is.
That's Windows Azure, I guess.
Yeah, well, Windows Azure, we announced about 2 weeks ago virtual machine capability. So up to now, we've had platform as a service, which is what we call web and worker role. You give us the application, we put it inside a VM, we give you the OS and the runtime, and then launch it. And this makes it so you don't have to manage the OS and manage the runtime and patch it, and you get a nice scale-out model and availability. But we found that lots of people have existing applications or code that works on Windows Server that's not compatible with that environment, the platform as a service environment. So about 2 weeks ago, we released.
Oh, sorry for that. I said Windows as a service. Of course, I mean platform as a service.
Yeah, I knew what you were saying.
Yeah, that's okay.
But about 2 weeks ago, we released Windows Azure Virtual Machines, which is what people call infrastructure as a service. You give us the VM, and then we launch it. So you can actually upload a Hyper-V VHD and run it in Windows Azure.
Create one of your own and do an upload?
Yep. You can create new VMs in the cloud, and you can download them from Windows Azure. There's standard VHD format, run in Hyper-V. So that basically is Windows as a service, in the sense that traditional sense, people think of Windows. You know, I write to the registry and it gets saved. I put a SQL database there and it persists.
Yeah.
So that's just fresh 2 weeks ago.
And what are the first reactions of people?
Incredibly positive. In fact, we've had the usage of it has exceeded what we kind of anticipated as people are playing with it and kicking the tires on it. Yeah, it's been fantastic. And talking to the people around here, you know, I did a brief demo in the keynote of the features, and then I had a breakout session. And these are the best attended Azure sessions that I've given in the time that I've been in Azure, you know, talking about Windows Azure. So
then it's really alive now.
Yeah, it's really, it looks like, you know, we're here and people see it.
One other thing that is, for example, in Hyper-V in Windows 2008 R2 is that you can use dynamic memory, right? Was that a big change for Windows? Because actually, it looks like I can imagine that Windows would think you would hot add memory to a machine. Yeah,
actually, that's the exact capability it's built on in Windows. It's hot add, hot remove, and Windows Server 2003 was the first one to support hot add of memory. But people didn't have physical servers that actually really supported it, so it was kind of extreme systems that would do this. But dynamic, you know, inside the VM, they took advantage of the same underlying capability to do the dynamic add and remove of RAM, so that it could be given to other VMs built on that same infrastructure. You know, fleshed out a little bit before there was no hot remove, so that was added.
Oh, nice. And so now Windows has changed a bit. Is there something, other next steps that you can share with us that is happening in the operating system? No. Hey, I totally understand, but that's something that everybody would be
we're rolling off
in,
Server 2012, right? Which is actually hasn't even released yet. So right now we're in the process of listening to the feedback we're getting from the early adopter, you know, TAP customers that are actually playing with it before it's released, seeing where they would like features to be fleshed out, where they'd like it to go, and we're all, you know, of course, Azure's influencing it as well. So we're in the process of figuring that out.
And then the other part of your life is obviously the sysinternals environment. It's just not just a website anymore. I believe it's just all the tools. You just did this session on malware, defending against malware using the sysinternals tools. I saw a lot of new versions of applications. What changed? Is it Windows 8, for example? Does that need to change the tools?
So for the most part, the tools worked on Windows 8 without change. There were some places where I had to make changes to make them work better with Windows 8, and I added features that expose some of the new capabilities in Windows 8. For example, in Process Explorer, we'll show you the Metro package name for a Metro app that's running. So Metro apps run in a host process. Process Explorer knows how to look inside the host and see this is the app that's running inside of the Metro app. So it will show you things like that. It will show you which are Metro apps. It has eye coloring for Metro apps. So there's also new security features it will show you, capability SIDs and app IDs SIDs and app container SIDs. It will show you those too. So changes to expose some of the Windows 8 functionality.
But tools like auto runs would remain?
Auto runs, did I make any changes for Windows 8? I think I added a couple more auto start locations that were added in Windows 8, and there's probably more I need to add. I haven't really done an investigation, but but for the most part, the
product is not released yet either.
That's true. Yeah. But for the most part, the tools just worked.
How does that work? You just wait for the release and then start rewriting those tools together with your two fellow writers?
Well, actually, I'm the only writer for the tools.
Oh, okay. I thought on the website it says with
Bryce Cogswell. Bryce founded sysinternals and founded WinTernals with me back in 1996, so 16 years ago almost, right? When Microsoft acquired WinTernals software, which is our commercial software company, where we sold software, sysinternals was freeware. So we both acquired in 2006. Me and Bryce moved to Redmond, worked for Microsoft, and about a year and a half ago, Bryce retired.
Okay.
So he's done. Now it's me by myself on the tools. Bryce is just hanging out, having fun. So.
Of course.
Yeah.
And you got even more busy.
I got even more busy. Yeah.
And then the third part is of course the zero-day book, the novel.
Yeah.
How did that? How has that been adopted?
It's been
a huge hit on the internet as well.
Yeah, it's been great. I wrote that book actually in 2005 before I joined Microsoft. Had the idea a while before, and it was published. Well, I found an agent 2007, and then publisher in 2008. I mean, it just took forever, but it came out last March. It's done really well. The publisher picked up the second book, called Trojan Horse, which is going to be out in September. And I think Trojan Horse is even better than 0 Day. 0 Day is about cyber terrorism.
Yeah.
Trojan Horse really is a fictionalized view of really what's going on right now with cyber warfare. In fact, the headlines kind of come really close to what I'd written.
You just showed this website of 2 days ago.
Yeah.
But if you read the book 0 Day, does it have some kind of story about yourself in there as well?
It does. So if the main character, Jeff Aiken, who's this, the hero of the book and cybersecurity researcher, there's a lot of me in him. Yeah, he uses the SysInternals tools too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is, of course, that you can explain what happens in the attack, or how you can solve this. And is there something we would see in the next book as well? Jeff Aiken will be back?
So yeah, actually Jeff Aiken's back, so is his girlfriend, Daryl Hagen.
Okay.
So she was who we met in the first book. He'd worked with her before, and then they kind of connected.
Yeah, I saw the video is really cool with a love.
Yeah. So he has to save her in the second book.
Yeah.
But there's also a short story coming out, which I didn't mention, called Operation Desolation. It's about an anonymous and Jeff dealing with an anonymous attack on a bank. That's coming out in August on Kindle for 99 cents.
Okay, cool.
So there's that.
That's a short story, extra story, just to keep us posted on what he's doing.
Yeah.
And then in the next version, it's more about cyber war, right?
So it's about state-sponsored cyber warfare. This kind of actors you'd expect: U.S., Iran, China, Russia. No, Russia was in the first one. So.
So and is there? Are you planning for a next book as well?
Are you
infected with the novel virus?
I am. I mean, when I actually set out to do these first books, I kind of had it in mind already. This cyber terrorism, state-sponsored cyber espionage, and financial cybercrime.
So we got a few more.
So the next one, so I've already started sketching the plot and the characters for the third one. It takes me about a year and a half, because I'm doing it in spare time and between things, to get to a manuscript complete. But
the last 20 hours of the week, right?
Pretty much.
Writing.
Yeah, Saturday mornings and afternoons.
But did it change the way that you do your job, your technical job, writing these books? Did that change because of the novels?
I don't think it really changed the way I do my job. It kind of reflects my interest in the things that I'm concerned about, especially when you talk about the cloud, because the public cloud doesn't exist without trust. And there's two ways to establish trust. One is a track record of being reliable and secure. And the other one is actually doing what it takes to be reliable and secure. So in terms of my job, my interest in cybersecurity is driving improvements to the way that we do cybersecurity in Windows Azure.
Okay, but you don't have this voice all day long when you click. When you write tools, now he's clicking a tool. The movie. Is there a link that people
it's actually if you go
that little movie? Because
if you go to Russinovich.com or markrussinovich.com or TrojanHorseTheBook.com, they're all pointing at the same site.
That is really really cool. Yeah. It's really like. Is there plans of making a film out of 0 Day?
No, nobody's approached me, but
because the voice is already there.
Yeah,
it's awesome. It's really awesome. So, so the novel writing goes on.
Yeah.
The tools go on. Windows Azure.
Windows Azure. Yeah, rocking and rolling.
Rocking and rolling.
Having a fun time there.
So we can expect you to see you back next year then.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what are the sessions then? Are you doing other Case of the Unexplained sessions?
Yeah, I mean, Case of the Unexplained is a fun one, right?
Yeah,
it's it's like a good closer for TechEds for me. People come and they have fun and laugh and it's learn something interesting for troubleshooting. So I see that going on indefinitely. I don't know. I'm not tired of doing it yet. And there's so many cases to pick from and fun. It's just a lot of fun.
And it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Just like, and there's this one thing that when we were getting in the room this morning, it was almost filled, but there were still empty spots in the middle. Did you hear the guy say, you need to close because there's people will crouch over you, and it's 98% male.
You don't want that to happen, That was really funny.
Yeah. Did you get distracted sometimes being a speaker during your sessions by stuff like that? Or is
it
just like...
No, I mean, the key to being, I think, a good speaker, and I'm not always great at it, but is just to be natural. Pretend like you're talking to friends, and then you'll have a fun time.
Well, Thank you very much.
All right.
And I hope to see you next year.
All right.
And we will get up to date then.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well,
good
thank you very
seeing
much.
All right.